Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Toy here, and for today's video, I'm gonna be going over a character that, well, a lot of people have been looking up lately. I looked up on YouTube to see if there was any searching for like certain characters and such, and it was kind of surprising because of one of the top search results I got was who is Tanix, which yeah, I know there's newer Destiny players coming into the game and so on and so forth. So I thought, well, you might as well just make a video about who this character actually is. Then. So, diving into it, we're going to be looking at Tanix, the Scarred. This is a quote originating from Destiny 1, it comes from Varix.
Tanix has no house. He kneels before no banner, owes allegiance to no kell. He is a murderer, and very good at what he does. I have been tracking him since wolves broke their chains, yes? Now Tanix works for Wolfpack, but not for long. Tanix has been sent to plunder the hive. Your job just as simple. Avenge the dead. Stop him from stealing the dark.
Varix says in the biography for Tanix, says that he is a murderer and very good at what he does, which also, again, that is said in the beginning of the Shadow Thief strike. But reading on. It reads as follows for his biography. Tanix was once a dreg in service to a Kell, who docked his arms on a regular basis. Having built himself prosthetic arms, he would kill the Kell with his own bare hands. Renouncing his house and their bygone traditions, Tanix had since garnered himself a reputation as an undying huntsman among the Elixni. His physical body would become further augmented by a mixture of technologies pilfered from legendary treasure troves to the extent he was considered more machine than fallen. Tanix became inspired as a fallen mercenary after the accomplishments of Sekris, Baron of Shanks, whom he modeled his own brutality after. He would later become acquainted with the infamous Aramis, the ship stealer. At some point, he even presumably followed her to battle at Twilight Gap. So, reading the biography, it basically just gives you a little backstory about Tanix and who he really is. But there's more story about Tanix, a lot more. And the next part we're going to be reading is the Vanguard Dare, which this involves the original leader of the Hunter Vanguard, Cade 6. It reads as followed. Cade says this: Tanix didn't announce himself, didn't say a word, just laughed a few times and tried like hell to kill us all. But we knew it was him. Stories match the story, you know? Now we're going to be reading the actual story. So, basically, in the explanation of it. So, it reads as followed. During the early City Age, Tanix sought to claim the bounty of an infamous crew of hunters, including Andalbrask, Shirofor, and Cade 6. During a mission where Andal led to raid one supply cache, while Cade, Shiro, Neon Ruo, and Lush hit another. The fallen mercenary ambushed Neon and Lush, murdering former and destroying the latter's ghost before they escaped. Even Osiris in the speaker had brought in Saint 14, an infamous guardian known amongst the fallen, to find and kill the mercenary himself. Despite their losses, Andal and the others decided to personally hunt down Tanix in retaliation. One night, Andal and Cade stayed up late drinking and decided to make a Vanguard Dare. As the position of the Hunter Vanguard had been empty for 2 years following Kako Swift-River's disappearance, they decided that whoever failed to kill Tanix would have to become the new Hunter Vanguard. While the winner would live the life of a free hunter, Tanix was killed twice by Cade's hands, leading Andal to become the new Hunter Vanguard, while Cade continued to enjoy life as a free hunter. However, Tanix survived both his encounters with Cade after his crew rebuilt him back from the dead. He then proceeded to murder Andal in cold blood, to which Cade took up the mantle of the Hunter Vanguard in memory of his fallen friend. So basically, you see there, it gives you a bit of an explanation about Tanix. Is reason why he's been back so many times previously. Um, he's been back, I think, twice in Destiny 1. It was for, well, once in the original strike, and then the strike again. Well, no, 3 times in Destiny 1. The strike again, but like taken fied, and then once again he was kind of like rebuilt with Siva. But then going on to Destiny 2, we have him again here in Shadowkeep as a nightmare, and then you have him again as a raid boss in the Deep Stone Crypt raid. So, next thing we're going to be reading is the Wolf Rebellion. And Barracks reads, and Wolf says this: I remember Tanix from the Reef Wars. Many awoken dead. Clever, clever creature. And then it reads as followed. Hired by the House of Wolves, Tanix would leave the Wolfborn Fallen to plunder the Hellmouth, before a fire team of guardians sent by Varix arrived to kill him.
Tanix has called you out, Guardian. You are challenged in the ways of old. Tanix is jamming our comms. Fight well, Guardian. Fight for honor.
As the fire team pursued the mercenary through his ship, Tanix calls upon the wolves to unleash their military might and impede their progress by sending waves of fallen, including a walker, upon them. With tremendous effort, the Guardians destroyed the walker and wiped out their enemies before cornering Tanix as he issues orders and taunts the fire team in fallen dialect. He is eventually killed, much to Varric's delight.
Notorious mercenary dead. No small matter. You will be rewarded treasure from the Queen, and my respect as well.
Now we're going to dive into Tanix being reborn, which he was basically called Tanix the Perfected, which it was Siva perfected, and it reads as followed. During the aftermath of the Siva crisis, the Devil Splicers had rebuilt the fallen mercenary into a Siva-enhanced version titled Tanix the Perfected. Now for the overview of Tanix the Perfected, it reads as followed. After so many losses against the new Iron Lords, the Devil Splicers sought new allies to set the odds in their favor and so turned to Tanix's crew. Still reeling from the loss of their leader, using Siva, the Devil Splicers successfully resurrected Tanix as Tanix Perfected, solidifying an alliance between the Splicers and Tanix's crew. After picking up chatter from the Splicers, Varrix informed the Vanguard of Tanix's return.
Varrix has brought unsettling news. The Devil Splicers have used Siva to resurrect an old foe. Tanix the Scarred has become Tanix Perfected.
Tanix's crew has joined the Splicers. They're using Siva to reanimate his body and overtake his territory. Lord Saladin says you are indispensable in old Russia, Guardian. We thought you should be the one to handle this.
Gathering the Guardians who fought with Saladin, the Vanguard sent them to the moon to chase after Tanix in the same manner as before. Fighting through Splicers and a fallen walker, the Guardians cornered Tanix in the command bridge. Despite his enhanced Siva abilities and his varied weapons, the Guardians once again slew Tanix. So next up we have Tanix in Shadowkeep, which that is basically just the Nightmare, which that's nothing to go crazy in depth about. I mean, it's just stuff remade by the Pyramids, so we're just gonna pass over that. I mean, it's pretty obvious of what it is, but the main next thing is in Beyond Light. And basically, this is set 5 years after we kill Tanix. That's the cool thing. It reads as followed. 5 years after his demise, Tanix's corpse was recovered by the House of Salvation, led by Aramis, Kell of Darkness. Having uncovered the Deepstone Crypt during their tenure at Europa, Tanix was rebuilt utilizing resources found at the site. The death of Phylax and Praxis would prompt Aramis to retaliate against the Guardian that killed them, ordering Atrax, the wildcard, to return to the crypt and prepare Tanix's body as their biggest trump card against them. Later, in the ongoing raid upon the Deepstone Crypt, a fire team of Guardians would discover, to their horror, that Atrax I, fallen Exo, having reawakened Tanix yet again, who immediately begins angrily banging on a window in Clarity Control after spotting them. After Atrax I was killed, Tanix breached the control room of the Morningstar station, an act that would prompt the Clovis AI to activate the orbital station's nuclear descent protocol and decimate Europa upon impact. The team of Guardians managed to disarm the station's nuclear protocol just as the Morningstar descends to the surface, leaving Tanix to seemingly perish when the station broke. At the crash site, restricted, however, Tanix survived the impact by merging himself with a heavy shank at the last minute, and re-emerges as a monstrous hybrid, now dubbed Tanix the Abomination. Once the fire team goes to investigate a pile of rubble, desperate to succeed where he had repeatedly failed years ago, Tanix puts up a last stand in the crash site, but is finally dismantled for good at the hands of the fire team. Now for some little honorable mentions, some of the other things about Tanix, well, not about Tanix, it's like kind of a part of them, is if you complete the strike back in D1, you were able to get the Cloak of Tanix, which I feel like they really should have brought that back into D2 for the Deepstone Crypt raid, is like the hunter's like cloak that you can get from the raid. I think that would have been badass, but I guess Bungie didn't want to think that way. Another little thing to look at for Tanix is that Tanix was actually the only fallen enemy to kill a high authority of the last city, and we went over that. That was Cade's best friend and mentor, Andal Brask. So that's a big thing also for Tanix in a way. I mean, he also leads his own group of fallen. Well, I mean, obviously Tanix's crew. And he's the first strike boss to become a raid boss. And he's also believed to be once a member of the extinct fallen house of Scar. Which it is believed that the Cloak of Tanix is actually the logo for the House of Scar, which makes complete sense since most of the fallen captains and stuff have like a cape or cloak or something like that they're usually wearing that has the logo of the house that they're a part of. And then they also have the picture of what the House of Scar is supposed to be, basically like inside the little like area that they live in and stuff. This is what they had for the picture of what it represents. Now for the very last thing involving Tanix is you get Tanix's helmet, or like, what do you want to call it, head. You get that for completing the Deepstone Crypt raid. As you can see, it basically sits there in your little like a camp that you have with the stranger, and just there to show you that, hey, I beat the raid and I'm good. And yeah, I mean, it's a cool little thing to have just to look at, like from like 2 weeks from now, let's say you just get bored, you want to see it, and there you go. I mean, you can just take a look at it. But yeah, that'll be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast making it, and yeah, just leave any suggestions down below on what type of videos that you would like to see in the future. I'm more than willing to do anything, and yeah, it's been Toy, guys. Later.